with the soul, bring it back to the show with the soulful voice. I think I heard they call him LB Score because he be doing the commentary for the games. But we got our man Jamie Walker back in the building. Jamie, welcome back to the Golden Boot.
What's going on, y'all? How you feeling?
All
There
right,
you
all
go,
right.
my boy.
Hold on, man. You sleeping on the dog? I got
My bad, Pooh. I was responding to one of our people in the chat, man. My bad.
Oh, you good? but, Jamie, welcome back. We wanted to bring you on because yesterday was historic as far as the crossover between PWI, HBCUs, not just for LSU and Southern, but also way out west in Hollywood, Alabama State, and UCLA. Some people don't know. I didn't know this. I was told by one of our Miss Nikki. I don't know if she's in the chat tonight, but Miss Nikki told us not only was that UCLA's first time playing the HBCU, that was their first time playing the FCS. Period. So I come to you and I bring you on because I know you cover, or we bring you on rather. How significant was it those two games? With regardless of what the outcomes, the scores and stuff, how significant were those two games?
I think when you're talking about PWI is playing, especially high level Division One PWI is playing HBCUs, it is always significant. There's a couple of different philosophies when it comes to playing those games, but I think depending on if you like them or not, it is truly significant. They call them money games, and yeah, it does bring or it can really do some things for your budgeting. But along with that, especially the West Coast PWIs that play HBCUs, you get a chance to expose them to HBCU culture. A lot of it you get to see on TV. It's almost like, all right, you don't have HBCUs out in that area, so I think it's used as a recruiting tool as well. For years, Grambling used that as a recruiting tool, being able to go to the West Coast and actually recruit those players. And you can see the pipeline between, especially California players and Grambling players that have come, to the South to actually play ball. Because there's a lot of athletes out there. I know, with us being in the South, Southeast in particular, Southeast, Southwest, whatever you want to call it, you're talking about players that are all over. But there are also players in California and really just out on the West Coast in general that don't get to see HBCU culture. So playing those types of games, especially when you're talking about in the Pac-12, is significant because you don't have those schools out there. They're concentrated in one spot. So whenever you get that opportunity, if it's affordable, number one, if it doesn't impact your team greatly, it definitely does from a financial standpoint. But along with that, I think from a cultural standpoint, with people, because you have a huge concentration of people that migrated to that area that know the culture. So not being able to see it on a regular basis, that's huge.
I think another thing Grambling did was the Rose Bowl parade. It's always having their band out, being seen by those people out on the West Coast. The band, they see the band, so then they start knowing who Grambling is. The next thing you know, Grambling plays a football game out there, and you have all those people who already know the brand, so they know, they start being involved with the football program also. But I want to ask you about another. Speaking of Grambling, you made a tweet a few not too long ago about them being able to put up points next week. What you feeling? What you looking at, man? What you
Look,
thinking?
look. I mean, they got Jackson State. They travel to Jackson State next week. Jackson State, had a hard fought victory against Tennessee State in the Southern Heritage Classic, which I think really is good for them because you know the world was feeling them after the beatdown of FAMU, and so to
Mm.
kind of
Hmm.
come back down to earth early
Yeah.
in the season, you can
Hmm.
already kind of see the corrections that they'll need to make. But just in general, Grambling playing, I think it was Northeast or Northwest Louisiana,
Northwestern
North,
State. Yeah.
Northwestern State. I think looking at that game and looking at that replay, I think it was hard in their first game against Arkansas State to see where in the world the offense was going to come from. Hugh Jackson being an offensive guy, offensive guru, quarterback guru, and that it was just painful to watch that Arkansas State game. So going into this game and looking at the replay, because I didn't see it originally, they found ways to score. Maurice Washington at the running back position, look, he looks like the real deal. And really, he was one of those pieces that were already in there in general. But, you know, it was always a question of who was going to play quarterback in what the world.
Bingo.
And so now that they kind of have the ball, it's kind of that they're getting control. They're on the confidence.
Yeah, we lost a little bit of your audio, Jamie.
Oh, my fault.
Oh, yeah.
And they scored 41 points before, you know, the half was over with in a whole bunch of different ways. So when you're looking at the ways this team can score now, hey, they may be able to put up some points next week against JSU.
Speaking of that, hold on. I want to get to this. Jason Brumfield in the chat got a prediction. He say Graham 24, Jackson State 17.
Jason bumped his head.
I say this though, like last week, you know, the Carter Hawkins, he got hurt and he got knocked out of the game versus Arkansas State. So I think that played a big factor in them not being able to move the ball. But I was kind of surprised by the amount of explosive plays I saw from Graham yesterday. You know, they had, you know, multiple touchdowns of 25, 50, you know, 60 yards. And I think they even had a 70-yard pass for a touchdown. So if they can have a quick strike offense like that against Jackson State, I think they'll be able to hang around. But Jackson State defense is kind of it's tough to move the ball consistently down and drive down the field on them. So they'll need some of that explosiveness next week.
If I could also add something to this conversation, please. Grambling played Northwestern State University. So let's not
hold on. I get what you're saying. But it's the talent gap between Grambling and Northwestern State is not like a talent gap between say LSU and Southern. So it's not that. It's not.
But Grambling is a better program than Northwestern.
They definitely better. But once again, it's not necessarily about the score or anything like that. It's about what we saw and how that can translate to who they're playing next week. It's not. I'm not saying they're gonna beat Jackson State 57-24 or whatever they beat Northwestern by. But if they can take some of the things that worked against Northwestern and, you know, keep improving on that week by week, then that's how you're able to compete against Jackson State. You know, work on that. If you get that explosive offense to next weekend, them same kind of 60-yard plays and flip the field in one play, then you have a chance.
So I just want to tie this in for some of our viewers, because Jason brings up a good point. He says Tennessee State held Jackson State all game. I'll say this. The way Texas and Alabama played yesterday, don't think that does not give a script to the rest of the teams that Alabama plays on how to play and possibly beat Alabama just because they didn't. Just Tennessee State may not have won, but we saw Jackson State put up points at will on Florida A&M, who Florida A&M is not no pushover. So, I mean, don't be surprised if Grambling doesn't. I mean, Hugh Jackson, come on.
If Jackson State lose, it'll be the same way they lost last year in the bowl game.
Can't say that.
I tell you like this too, man. I mean, of course, we know that this is college football and anything can happen any given Saturday. And just, I mean, but these are college kids who sometimes they overlook their opponents. Sometimes they may not focus as hard on the game plan and pay attention.
This is a classic game. This is a what you call it. I get what you're saying, but I'm not buying that Jackson State overlooked Tennessee State on this one.
I actually think Tennessee State came to play. I think they're structured different. When you're looking at the way they're structured in Eddie George's image, they're a power running team that likes to go play action. And so, you know, when you're talking about that front four of Jackson State being able to stop the run, that's why they weren't able to score any points. And even defensively, you know, I know you said they stopped Jackson State and they did keep them out the end zone. But if you look at that yardage total, they still were able to go up and down the field. So it was kind of a bend but not break situation. But I think if Grambling, and like I said, I think, you know, team for team, I think Tennessee State is probably a little more talented as far as being put together offensively than Grambling will be. But I think Grambling has some pieces if they are able to run the football just a little bit, because I think um, Draylon Ellis is a good runner for Tennessee State. They held him in check. So I think if Maurice Washington can, kind of get something going, it'll be one of those offensive line games. So it just depends if Jackson State is able to get pressure with their front four and keep everything in the box, it's going to be a long day because it's going to force Grambling to kind of get out of what they want to do, which is throwing the ball all around the yard, and that plays perfectly into what Jackson State does in the back half of the defense.
And Jamie, I'll say this too. Like whenever I play ball, we played, our offense was primarily a spread offense, right? We always had difficult times whenever we would face teams that love to run the football, because every day you're not used to playing against offensive linemen that are coming out and they're attacking you. A lot of times those offensive linemen, they're pass pro, and then they're going to go. You know what I'm saying? They're going to run draws. They're going to run spread runs, outside runs. They're not coming full press at you. So a lot of times for a lot of those teams like Jackson State, they're running spread offenses. They're not used to getting hit in the mouth every day. So I think that kind of creates matchup nightmares because they're not used to seeing those kind of offenses. It's kind of like playing Georgia Tech,
Yes.
It's just different.
I think if Jackson State loses the game, it'll be to Southern or Alcorn.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to Southern then. All right. So we started this out talking about Alabama State, playing at UCLA, Southern playing at LSU. Let me ask you this, Jamie, because we talked about the exposure and stuff. The HBCUs have gone played in the Rose Bowl. They've been in Macy Day parades and stuff. There are some players who know. I'm not players. I'm sorry. There are fans and stuff that know about HBCUs and stuff. But again, this is the first time these LSU has ever played Southern in Tigers or in football. Period. This is the first time UCLA has ever played a HBCU. Is this too little, too late?
No, I think it really depends on what the goal is. Okay. I think ultimately, if you see those teams matched up, I think it's really a philosophy type of thing when it comes to these teams playing, because when you're looking at, it was really interesting that this is literally the first time LSU has played Southern right there in the same town. And so I think there are a lot of different elements to that. I think, some good, some bad. Because when you look at the type of talent that LSU recruits, they, of course, Southern wouldn't be on their level as far as talent. Let's just be frank about it. But I think it's interesting that Southern has traveled to the University of Georgia to play UGA. I think they've gone to other places to play other Power 5 schools. So why not play, someone right there in your backyard? Because I think it's just good for the town. So again, I think it's just really depends on your school of thought and your philosophy. But no, it's not too little, too late at all. In fact, I think as you're in the time of the transfer portal, and as more teams are getting talented, I think not to say they'll ever be on a Power 5 level, but I will say the talent is evening out some. Those players that weren't able to make, first team or first string basically on a Power 5 squad, going to these other places and finding places to play, especially if the NFL starts to go into the HBCU route or FCS route, and you see some of these teams kind of even out a little bit, and you say, hey, really somebody takes the philosophy, I can go anywhere and play and still get into the professional football, then I think, why not go play Power 5s? You never know what'll happen. You see how many upsets happened over this weekend when it came to FCS squads?
Oh, we're about to talk about all of them. Yes.
So yeah, I absolutely think this is not too little, too late at all. I think you'll see more of it.
Not to your point about the transfer portal, I know a lot, like there was a guy who played at LSU. We played Louisiana Tech, and after that game, he decided he was going to enter the portal. Not after that game, but after the season, when he decided he was going to enter the portal, us playing Louisiana Tech made him go look at Louisiana Tech as an option, and that's ultimately where he landed. So some of these Power 5 schools playing Alabama State or playing, Southern, some of those players, if it don't work out for them, they see, the talent that they're playing up against. They see the coaching that those other guys are getting, live action. They're seeing it right there when they're playing against them. So that might make them consider Alabama State or FAMU or, one of these other HBCUs because they realize how good the coaching is and the talent level that they're playing against.
Right. I would also add, too, the significance of, LSU and Southern playing yesterday was amazing. I mean, when is the last time you can say LSU had over 200,000 people on campus?
For a
full stadium.
non-conference game.
Yeah, for a non-conference game, a packed-out stadium for a non-conference game, for an FCS opponent. So the fact that, you had people in my section, it was a good time. You know what I'm saying? Rarely ever do you have a good time with the opposing fans. You know what I'm saying? It was like honestly, it was like a family reunion. You know what I'm saying? And it was just good. It was good to being around. It was a great atmosphere.
So
you had my bad, Pooh.
No, no, I was just gonna say y'all were at the game, so y'all didn't see. They actually, SEC Network talked with the band director at Southern, Kendrick Taylor. Shout out to 251. I just want to throw that in there. But he talked about the last time that the two bands played together was 2004 for the championship parade when LSU won the Natty and Southern won the SWAC. He was in the band during that time.
Yeah,
wow.
18. That's 18 years ago. That was the last time, and they're literally down the street from each other.
Right.
So,
right. It was something that was long overdue, man.
Yes.
Something like honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I go to a lot of LSU games. I feel like I was on. I feel like I was at Southern. I mean, like just walking on the campus yesterday.
I said this.
It was good. It was good.
I haven't seen like the atmosphere like that, like tailgating wise and stuff. Like you had opposing fans. Obviously, they are pretty much co-workers, neighbors, and everything like that. You know what I mean? But you had everybody Southern LSU tents right beside each other, and everybody just having a good time, celebrating, partying, having it carrying on. And it wasn't after the game. It was the same way. It wasn't that Southern lost, so they fans are mad and bitter. Nah, they were still partying, having a good time, man. So I think that definitely something that needs to happen more frequently. Put Southern in that rotation of all the state schools that we play, so we can have that like once every 5-6 years.
Yeah. I would also say too, man. It was good having everybody together, but I'm be honest with you, I don't think Southern should play a game like that every year, because a lot of those guys they were getting blown up, bro. And I'm looking at people getting hit on kickoff returns, and I'm like, ooh, don't hurt them. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? Just because the level of competition is so different and the players are so bigger, if I'm being completely honest. You know what I'm saying? So it comes to a point to where how safe are some of these games? Like, granted, it's great for the coaches, great because it's a money game. It puts money into your budget and everything like that. But when it comes to the health of these kids, and it's 51-0 at halftime.
My another question you said about it being a money game. At what point? I know Southern and Alabama State and every FAMU who went to play North Carolina and all these schools who play these money games. I know they're not gonna come out and kind of speak out against it. But at what point do HBCUs start demanding the same pay as some of the other FCS and G5 schools get? If you look at what LSU plays ULM, versus what they pay Southern, or if you look at what Auburn pays, whenever they play UT Martin, for example, or somebody like that, versus what they play whenever they play a HBCU school, when is HBCU pay going to be equal to to PWI pay? Do you think, Jamie?
I think like everything else, it's what you're willing to take. So you got to be willing to turn it down
Negotiate.
if it's not equal, or negotiate. I mean, like if someone wants you in a certain spot that bad, they'll pay for it. And so I think there was so much historical significance um to that game last night that hey, it was like, okay, we'll get our money back. It's just worth it happening. Just based on the culture and people talking about it. I've heard this conversation from a lot of people as far as what the atmosphere was, just how everything went. It was, seemingly all love. But I think when you're looking at certain squads, it really just depends on how they're structured. Because when it comes to money, I think you're talking about underfunding when it comes to state institutions, particularly when it comes to the academics. But the extra comes from alumni. And when your alumni bases are not showing up and are not giving as they should, that makes it hard. You can't take and give those funds or allot those funds to other places. For example, let's take a Howard University. Their endowment is up there amongst the highest in HBCU lore, but they're not necessarily willing to take that money and put it into athletics. And so when you're looking at the playing of money games, athletic funds oftentimes have to live or die by that money game. There are some teams that can't play money games because their scholarship allotments aren't where they're supposed to be. For example, Mississippi Valley. You never seen them play those big time money games because they're having to get themselves into a place to be able to do it. But to answer your question, they're more valuable to some schools more than others. There's a school of philosophy that says you shouldn't play them because it's demoralizing to a team, and people are not going to want to come to your institution based on getting blown out. It just emphasizes the stereotype that HBCUs aren't in the running. And truthfully speaking, they aren't in that way. They're great institutions, but if you're making those comparisons, there are some comparisons where Nick Saban is getting paid more than the entire athletic budget at an institution. Right. So it's not comparable at that instance. Then there's some that feel like, yeah, we need this money. Let's go play this game. And when you're talking about athletes wanting to compete against athletes, you go play anybody. You know what I'm saying? So there's those schools of thought. So it just depends on the way your school is structured.
And I also think whenever you look at what the alumni can do, as far you mentioned donating, but whenever, let's take LSU Southern for example. Whenever the alumni and the fan base come out and they support, and the LSU looks at how big of it is, how big that game is to Southern, then whenever they come to the negotiation table next time, Southern has something that, they have more leverage because they say, look how much money we brought y'all last time we played. You know what I mean? So, and it's not just for that game, but whenever FAMU plays North Carolina, you know what I mean? If the alumni and the fan base travel to that game and they show up and they spend their money, and FAMU is able to come to the table and say, well, we sold out our tickets, we did this. We won't take $750,000 next time. We need $1.2 million next time. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do your part as a fan base for where the school can benefit from it.
And I mean, look, LSU plays Grambling State next year. Yep. You know what I'm saying? If I'm Grambling, I'm doing the Birdman hands. You know what I'm saying?
You need to look at what Southern did and be like, we need to have that same kind of representation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jonathan Burrs has this makes this statement. He said, but what about Southern playing Florida Memorial? Playing Southern was Florida Memorial's money game. We can't have it both ways. And I do know that Deion's first game was against Edward Waters. So yeah.
And then UAPB played who they played?
North American something.
Yeah, North America. Yeah. So they have their money games also.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I don't know. My solution is not a popular one. And Jamie, I think we kind of brought this up and talked with you about this. I know we've talked about it a lot on HBCU Hour. Dion mentioned it. We talked about it last Thursday. Instead of having all these classic at neutral sites, have them home and start making that money and keep them at home. But that's a different story for a different day.
That's part of it for sure.
That's a different story for a different day. Jamie, thank you for coming on. Like I said, yesterday was so significant. We couldn't have, you know what I'm saying, Albie Score, the voice of the people for HBCU commentary coming on. But I do want to say this. I don't think you called the game today. Who that though?
Oh man, look, I told you. I've been off that narcotic for 2 years. I enjoy my Sundays now. Yeah, I caught wind of it that they finally gave up. I mean, they gave up another fourth quarter lead. So look, I was fine. I was chilling in my recliner. I didn't even look at the game. But congratulations to all you Saint fans. I'm party with you next time I'm down the way. I'm all good though. I'm good. I'm off the Atlanta Falcon narcotic.
I'm gonna say this. We retired 28-3 around here after today. 26-10 has taken its place, and that will be the new saying from now. 26-10, brother.
All right. But I appreciate you having me on, man.
Thank you, as always. Let the people know where they can find you.
On, buddy.
Oh man, you will find me. Of course, find me on Twitter at SportVoiceJW. Also, ESPN Plus. I will be calling both color and play-by-play. First game I'll be calling will be from Lane College as they host. What game is that? They host Central State. So yeah, I'll be doing color for that game. So yeah, man, catch me anywhere. We talking about HBCU sports.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our man, Mr. Jamie Walker. Thank you again, Jamie.